Good morning, everyone. I welcome you all to my lecture on chronic periodontitis. I am Dr. Mano Vijay. I am working as reader in the Department of Periodontology, Vinaya Mission Sankaracharya Dental College, Salem, Tamil Nadu. Today, we will be discussing the clinical features and risk factors for periodontal disease. As the name implies, chronic refers to of longer duration and periodontitis is inflammation of the supporting structure of the tooth. Chronic periodontitis was formerly known as adult periodontitis or chronic adult periodontitis. It is the most prevalent form of periodontitis. It is generally considered to be a slow progressing disease. However, in the presence of systemic or environmental factors, it may modify the host response to plaque accumulation. So, considering all these factors, the definition of chronic periodontitis is it is an infectious disease resulting in inflammation within the supporting tissues of the teeth, resulting in progressive attachment loss and bone loss. So, this definition outlines the major clinical and etiological characteristics of the disease. As mentioned, infectious disease here it refers to the microbial plaque formation and inflammation refers to the periodontal inflammation here. So because of the microbial plaque formation, there is inflammation of the periodontal tissues. So all this leads to progressive attachment loss and bone loss. That means it leads to the attachment of supporting structures like bone and cementum. So this will lead to pocket formation, gingival recession, furcation involvement, and finally it may even lead to tooth loss. Characteristic clinical features in patients with untreated chronic periodontitis may include supragingival and subgingival plaque accumulation, which is frequently associated with calculus formation. It leads to gingival inflammation, pocket formation, loss of periodontal attachment, loss of alveolar bone, and occasional suppuration. In patients with poor oral hygiene, the gingiva typically may be slightly to moderately swollen and exhibits alterations in color. It ranges from pale red to magenta. Loss of gingival stippling and changes in the surface topography may also include blunted or rolled gingival margins and flattened or cratered papillae. In many patients, especially those who perform regular home care measures, bleeding on probing may be the first clinical sign of periodontitis. Gingival bleeding may be either spontaneous or it may be in response to probing. Chronic periodontitis can be diagnosed by a combined correlation of clinical and radiological findings. It can be clinically diagnosed by the presence of chronic inflammatory changes in the marginal gingiva, presence of periodontal pockets, and loss of clinical attachment. It is diagnosed radiographically by evidence of bone loss. These findings may be similar to those seen in aggressive disease. So, a differential diagnosis based on the age of the patient, rate of disease progression over time, that is very important, familiar nature of aggressive disease and relative absence of local factors in aggressive disease compared with the presence of abundant plaque and calculus in chronic periodontitis. Chronic periodontitis is often considered as a site-specific disease. What do you mean by the site specificity? For example, a proximal surface with chronic plaque accumulation may have loss of attachment, whereas the plaque-free facial surface of the same tooth may be free of disease. In addition to being site-specific, chronic periodontitis may be described as being localized or generalized. In localized periodontitis, when less than 30% of the sites assessed in the mouth demonstrate attachment loss and bone loss. In generalized periodontitis, more than 30% of the sites assessed in the mouth demonstrate attachment loss and bone loss. The pattern of bone loss observed in chronic periodontitis may be horizontal or vertical. When attachment and bone loss proceeds at a uniform rate on the majority of tooth surface, then there will be horizontal bone loss. It is usually associated with suprabony pocket formation. So it is very important. Then when you come to the vertical bone loss, the attachment and bone loss on one tooth surface is greater than that on the adjacent surface. It is usually associated with angular bony defects and intra-bony pocket formation. Based on the disease severity, periodontitis is described as being slight, moderate or severe. The severity of destruction of the periodontium that occurs as a result of chronic periodontitis is generally considered as a function of time. With increasing age, attachment loss and bone loss become more prevalent and more severe because of an accumulation of destruction. Periodontal destruction is generally considered slight or mild when no more than 1 to 2 mm of clinical attachment loss has occurred. Periodontal destruction is considered to be moderate when 3 to 4 mm of clinical attachment loss has occurred, and it is considered to be severe when 5 mm or more of clinical attachment loss has occurred. The patients may become aware that they have chronic periodontitis after noticing the following symptoms. They may notice that their gums bleed when brushing or eating. Spaces occur between their teeth as a result of tooth movement. Their teeth have become loose. Because chronic periodontitis is usually painless, patient may be totally unaware that they have the disease and may be less likely to seek treatment and accept treatment recommendation. In addition, in response to questions such as, "Are you in pain?" it is not sufficient to eliminate suspicion of periodontitis. Occasionally, pain may be present in the absence of caries caused by exposed roots that are sensitive to heat, cold, or both. Areas of localized dull pain, it may be sometimes radiating deep into the jaw, have been also associated with periodontitis. The presence of areas of foot impaction may add to the patient's discomfort. The patient often complains of gingival tenderness or itchiness which they feel relieved when using toothpick. These symptoms may be noted. The following symptoms may make the patients aware that they have chronic periodontitis. Whenever a patient comes to your clinic, the following symptoms should be asked. So, when did they notice their gums to bleed? Normally, the patient says that they notice the bleeding of gums while brushing or eating. Some people may say that there were spaces occurring between their teeth as a result of tooth movement, or their teeth have become loose. So all these points should be noted because these are some of the symptoms the patient complains while reporting to the clinic. Since chronic periodontitis is usually painless, we should not ignore it. Patients may be totally unaware that they have the disease, or they may be less likely to seek treatment and accept treatment recommendation. In addition, a negative response to questions such as, "Are you in pain?" is not sufficient to eliminate suspicion of periodontitis. Occasionally, pain may be present in the absence of caries caused by exposed roots that are sensitive to heat, cold, or both. Areas of localized dull pain, it may be sometimes radiating deep into the jaw. It is also associated with periodontitis. The presence of areas of foot impaction may also add to the patient's discomfort. The patient may complain that they have gingival tenderness or itchiness. They also say that they feel relieved while using toothpick in those areas. So all these symptoms should be noted to come to the diagnosis of chronic periodontitis. The following symptoms make the patient aware that they have chronic periodontitis. First, they may notice that their gums started to bleed when brushing or eating. Then, spaces occur between their teeth as a result of tooth movement, or they may complain that the teeth have become loose. Since chronic periodontitis is usually painless, patients may be totally unaware that they have the disease and may be less likely to seek treatment and accept treatment recommendations. In addition, a negative response to questions such as, "Are you in pain?" is not sufficient to eliminate suspicion of periodontitis. Occasionally, pain may be present in the absence of caries. It is caused due to exposure of roots that are sensitive to heat, cold, or both. Areas of localized dull pain, sometimes radiating deep into the jaw, have been associated with periodontitis. The presence of areas of foot impaction may add to the patient's discomfort. Gingival tenderness or itchiness may be the term used by the patient to come to a diagnosis of chronic periodontitis. Chronic periodontitis does not progress at an equal rate in all affected sites throughout the mouth. Some involved areas may remain static for long periods, whereas others may progress more rapidly. More rapidly progressive lesions occur more frequently in the interproximal areas and may also be associated with areas of greater plaque accumulation and inaccessibility to plaque control measures. For example, furcation areas, overhanging margins, sites of malposed teeth, and areas of food impaction. Several models have been proposed to describe the rate of disease progression. In these models, progression is measured by determining the amount of attachment loss during a given period. In the continuous model, they suggest that the disease progression is slow and continuous, with affected sites showing a constantly progressive rate of destruction throughout the duration of the disease. In the random model or episodic burst model, the periodontal disease progresses by short bursts of destruction followed by periods of no destruction. This pattern of disease is random with respect to the tooth sites affected and the chronology of the disease process. Finally, in the asynchronous or multiple burst model, the progression of periodontal disease occurs around affected teeth during defined periods of life, and that these bursts of activity are interspersed with periods of inactivity or remission. The chronology of these bursts of disease is asynchronous for individual teeth or groups of teeth. Chronic periodontitis increases in prevalence and severity with age. Generally, it affects both genders equally. It is an age-associated and not an age-related disease. In other words, it is not the age of the individual that causes the increase in disease prevalence, but rather the length of time that the periodontal tissues are challenged by chronic plaque accumulation. Based on this, we have got various risk factors for the disease. So first and foremost is that a patient with a prior history of periodontitis have more risk for development of the disease. Second is the local factors associated with the periodontal disease, systemic factors, environmental and behavioral factors, and finally we have got the genetic factors. Let us discuss in detail each and every one as follows. Prior history of periodontitis. It is not a true risk factor, but it is a risk predictor. That is, patients with prior history of periodontitis should be constantly monitored, and periodontal maintenance in these patients is absolutely necessary to prevent further recurrence of the disease. Plaque accumulation on tooth and gingival surfaces at the dentogingival junction is considered the primary initiating agent in the etiology of chronic periodontitis. Although chronic periodontitis requires an infection to initiate the host response and subsequent inflammatory reaction, the specific bacteria causing the infection in an individual are unknown. Several different microorganisms apparently are capable of initiating the host response, and a certain combination of species is probably required to overwhelm the host and initiate tissue loss, attachment loss, and bone loss. Because plaque accumulation is the primary initiating agent in periodontal destruction, anything that facilitates the plaque accumulation or prevents plaque removal by oral hygiene procedures can be detrimental to the patient. Plaque retentive factors are important in the development and progression of chronic periodontitis because they retain plaque microorganisms in proximity to the periodontal tissues, providing an ecologic niche for plaque growth and maturation. Calculus is considered the most important plaque retentive factor because of its ability to retain and harbor plaque bacteria on its rough surface. As a result, calculus removal is essential for the maintenance of a healthy periodontium. Other factors that are known to retain plaque or prevent its removal are subgingival and overhanging margins of restorations, caries lesions that extend subgingivally, furcations exposed by loss of attachment and bone, crowded and malaligned tooth, and root grooves and concavities. These potential risk factors are to be diagnosed and should be managed for complete maintenance of periodontal health. The rate of progression of plaque-induced chronic periodontitis is generally considered to be slow. However, when chronic periodontitis occurs in a patient who also has a systemic disease that influences the effectiveness of the host response, the rate of periodontal dissection may be significantly increased. Diabetes is a systemic condition that can increase the severity and extent of periodontal disease in an affected patient. It is likely that chronic periodontitis, aggravated by the complications of type 1 and type 2 diabetes, will increase in prevalence in the near future and will provide therapeutic challenges to the clinician. Smoking has been shown to increase the severity and extent of periodontal disease. When combined with plaque-induced chronic periodontitis, an increase in the rate of periodontal dissection may be observed in patients who smoke and have periodontal disease. As a result, smokers with chronic periodontitis have more attachment and bone loss, more furcation in involvements, and deeper pockets. In addition, they appear to form more supragingival and less subgingival calculus and demonstrate less bleeding on probing than non-smokers. Clinicians must be focused in their assessment of periodontal disease in smokers because the appearance of healthy appearing non-bleeding gingiva often is accompanied by deep pockets and advanced bone loss. When we talk about stress has been previously been associated with necrotizing ulcerative disease, perhaps because of the effects of stress on immune function. Increasing evidence suggests that emotional stress also plays an important role in the progression of periodontal disease. As we all know, chronic periodontitis is generally slowly progressive, with some patients having increased susceptibility to bone loss and pocketing. Some patients who have a genetic profile that accentuates interleukin 1 production have a 2.9 times increased risk of tooth loss, and if these patients are also smokers, their risk increases to 7.7 times. We have discussed the clinical features and risk factors of chronic periodontitis in detail. This provides the basis for periodontal therapy in which periodic monitoring, removal of plaque, and management of risk factors are aimed at keeping the host-bacteria relationship tipped in favor of the host response and control of the disease process. So these are my references. Thank you so much for your patient listening. Hope you are enlightened with this presentation. We'll meet again. Thank you once again.